Funny, isn't it? No matter where you are in the world, the one thing that keeps men from killing each other is a fear of what'll happen after they're dead. Today I finished Jade War, the second book in the Greenbone saga by Fonda Lee, and I thought that this was pretty good. I thought that this was another solid entry into the Greenbone saga. I thought it really fulfilled a lot of what Jade City set up, but I'm still not totally in love with this series. And I've been trying to figure out why that is for me, because on paper, it should work a lot more than it does. I like politics, I like family drama, I like Asian-inspired fantasy. This really should be like a home run out of the park situation for me, and it's just not quite there. And I've been trying to figure out why that is, and I think I finally did it. And I think for me, the issue is that Fonda Lee writes in a way that does not convince me that this is a living, breathing world. There is a lot of fantasy out there, and I've read a fair amount of it. I've read some very popular and very different kinds of fantasy. I've read Wheel of Time, I read The Dark Tower, I've read Malazan. And one thing that I've really come to appreciate from the fantasy that I adore is that the author is attempting to convince me that this is a living, breathing world, that the things that happen in this will have an effect on the rest of history, that history influences these events. And I feel like that is not true for the Greenbone saga so far. And I know that it's all up to personal interpretation. I'm sure there's many, many people out there who would think that the Greenbone saga is a very living, breathing world. But for me, I feel like it's very clinically and surgically written. It feels distant, it feels cold, it feels like the character, the world building, it's all in service to the plot, the ideas, the themes, and the politics that Fonda Lee is attempting to explore. And while I don't have an issue with any of that, I'm just not super emotionally attached to what's going on in the story. I like the story, I like the characters, but I feel distant from them. Still, having said that, this is still a good book. And if you like Jade City, you're definitely going to like Jade War. It is much more politically focused, so maybe that will bother some of you. But for me, I thought that this was a step in the right direction, and as good as Jade City, if not ever so slightly better. The characters are still great. I think Hilo is an amazing, very solid lead protagonist. I think he's the best part of this book. I think he is the most convincing protagonist in this book. I think he's very, very well handled, and while I don't absolutely adore him, I can definitely see him making it onto the list for other people as being one of their favorite protagonists, because he is very, very well written, and I actually think he's very well executed when it comes to his morally gray alpha male kind of persona that he has. As for the rest of the characters, I like most of them. I thought Shay was a vast improvement over Jade City. I thought that she definitely got more of a voice in this one, so I really like that. I thought the Make brothers were a very good addition. You actually kind of get to see their internal world a bit. And I even liked when their sisters rolled to this. And there were many moments where I thought, yeah, I really, really like these characters. I didn't love Andon in this one. I thought he was better in Jade City. I didn't like his plotline in this. I thought it was very boring. But besides that, I thought the characters were really, really solid. The world building continues to be good. I don't think that this is the most fleshed out world ever. I don't think that it's the most interesting world ever, but I do really like Keikon. I really like John Loon. I think the city and the island are by far the best and most interesting part of the world that Fonda Lee has created. I feel like all the other continents and places that we get to see are just serviceable for the story, and they add a little bit more flavor, but for me, Keikon and John Loon are really the heart of this story, and I wish we got to spend more time actually exploring John Loon and Keikon, because that to me is a very interesting setting. And I kind of want more from it. But the world building, again, continues to be solid. The pacing, great. Fonda Lee wastes no words in this book, in my opinion. I think everything that she writes has an impact. It drives the story forward. It all makes everything matter. It's very connective. I feel like there's really no waste here in these books, and that is something I really got to tip my hat off to Fonda Lee for, because so many fantasy authors waste so much time when they do not need to, and Fonda Lee most certainly does not do that. And the themes here are great. Family dynamics, this idea of immigration, what it means to be a foreigner in a foreign land, family dynasty, legacy, all these things I think are really, really well balanced and well handled. Fonda Lee has a really good grip on how to write themes in a convincing way and also make them prevalent to the story that she's telling. So that is very, very, very solidly handled. And finally, the thing that I really thought was the best about this book was the politics. I'm a huge fan of political intrigue. I've made it no secret. I love good political intrigue. Those are some of my favorite moments in fantasy, is when you're sitting down at the council table and just talking about issues. I love that stuff. I think politics in the real world is very cool. I think politics in the fantasy world is very cool. I like politics. They're very interesting to me, and Jade War has a lot of them. This book feels like it's kind of got this 1980s Cold War espionage side to it, where it's very political. They're trying to figure out how to take over the Mountain Clan, just like in the last book, but it's through subterfuge, through assassinations, through buying out and gaining more economic power and political bribery and all these things that I thought was very, very, very cool. And seeing how these clan politics and this clan warfare is expanded onto the grand stage of geopolitics and the just world stage was very, very cool. It was cool to see how the calls could influence geopolitics and how geopolitics influenced the calls to make certain decisions, whether that was helpful for them or harmful for them. I really, really like that. And I think Fonda Lee, the way that she handles politics, is some of my favorite stuff I've read from any fantasy author. It is a very, very, very strong aspect of her writing, and I think it makes her a very compelling author in that aspect. If she wants to write another, politically driven fantasy series, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna 100% buy it, because she is so good at writing that stuff. It was my favorite part of the book, easily, was the sit down, let's talk about, buying this company, or using this as a shell company to do this and move these things here, and let's bribe this politician. That is my favorite kind of stuff. She writes it so convincing, she writes it so well, that, I think that aspect especially shines over Jade City. So overall, I thought this was a really good book. I think it's very solid. If you like Jade City, if you love Jade City, I would be shocked if you didn't like Jade War, or if you didn't love Jade War. If you're someone more like me, where you're like, yeah, Jade City was good, then I would still recommend continuing. But if you're like, I didn't really love Jade City, then you might be able to skip Jade War. Overall, for me though, I really liked it. The characters are great, pacing is tight, the world building is solid, and the politics are a real standout. I really, really thought they were well handled, and I thought that how they were woven into the plot was very, very, very well done. So I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. I'm very interested to see how Fonda Lee finishes this up with Jade Legacy.